Welcome back, Mando.
Greetings, Bucketheads. Mavar Tagar. Welcome to our 310th, excitingly expeditious episode of Mandovision. And I am your host, Nargai Tom. Thank you so much for checking out this small independent Star Wars podcast. We're so glad you're here. Make sure to reach out to us on the socials, Mando_Vision, Twitter/X, and Instagram, Mandovision at Blue Sky, and you can email this show directly to me, mandovisiontom@gmail.com. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, following, and sharing this show with all the Mandalorians in your covert. Alright, Bucketheads. Happy May the 4th. Hope you had a great one. Not sure what you were all doing, what you got up to. Did you take advantage of all the multitude of commercialistic opportunities that became available to us? I did one. I took care. I was obliged, felt obliged to make one purchase related to May the 4th, and I feel like I got a honey of a deal. Feel excited about that. Something to look forward to. Maybe we'll get to display it in the future Mando cave. That will be hopefully unveiled at some point in 2025. We'll see about that. But at the very, very least, we hope you were able to sit down in front of your screens at some point and watch the new Tales of the Underworld series that dropped on Disney Plus for May the 4th. Exciting stuff, a new anthology series, once again debuting on a Star Wars Day. And I think we're going to talk about it today. That's going to be the plan. That's going to be our focus. You know, we still have Andor to look forward to this week. A lot of Star Wars stuff happening kind of all at once. So we have this episode that'll focus on Tales of the Underworld. We also will have probably the next day, we will have our Andor coverage out for you as well for the next batch of episodes that we'll release Tuesday night on Disney Plus, and we're excited to talk about those. But in the meantime, yeah, we will go ahead. We will focus on this new anthology series as we have done in the past. This one, it's the usual array of Disney animation creators associated. So all the stories by Dave Filoni. Matt Mishinvich is our head writer. We have familiar directors like Nathaniel Villanueva, Stuart Lee, Saul Ruiz, coming back into Star Wars animation to tell us, to give us new tales centered around Asajj Ventress and Cad Bane. So, exciting stuff. So I want to go ahead. I want us to focus on that, have a chat, have a discussion. You know, it's not going to be a crazy long episode, but we're going to get into it. I'm going to give you my thoughts, my opinions, and what I kind of took from each of these arcs. And we're going to do it right now. You ready? It's time. Strap on your buckets. Let's go.
Get out of here. We'll hold them off. You're going to have to relocate the covert. This is the way. This is the way.
All right, up first, we're going to focus on the initial 3 episodes of this Tales of the Underworld series. A Way Forward, Friends, and One Warrior to Another. This is the Asajj Ventress arc. And I'll be honest, it wasn't my favorite. It didn't grab me in quite the way I thought it would, in the way I sort of expected it to. I did like how we opened the series at the very end of the Dark Disciple novel, which, again, for anyone who has forgotten, the Dark Disciple novel came about from the cancellation of the Star Wars, the Clone Wars animated series, when Disney first acquired Star Wars, and they canceled everything. So there's there was a lot of unanimated episodes that never saw the light of day, but details have emerged, and certain plot points have kind of made their way into the canon. And a big Asajj Ventress arc was planned for that the original 7th season of Star Wars: The Clone Wars. But it was then adapted into a Star Wars book, Dark Disciple, by Christy Golden. And it tells the saga of Ventress from her days as a separatist and going from that to Quinlan Voss and his dabbles with the dark side, and the bond and relationship that they form with each other, the love that they build for each other. And it ends in tragedy, the death of Asajj Ventress. And that's where we pick up in these first episodes. The dead body of Ventress being returned to Dathomir by Quinlan Voss and Obi-Wan Kenobi. And Quinlan lays her into the waters of Dathomir, and Night Sister magic happens. Whether it is we don't know how. It's sort of vague and mysterious. Whether it's the love for Quinlan or the love that she has for Quinlan, it ignites something. Within the waters of Dathomir, where Mother Talzin presents Ventress with the opportunity to return to the world of the living, and Ventress knows that nothing comes without a price. And as Talzin explains, it's at the cost of her love for Quinlan Voss. So she steps from the mists of the netherworld and returns to the land of the living, but can never seem to find Quinlan Voss. Now, these 3 episodes don't do much in regards to sort of the feelings that she may have moving forward. And I suppose that's my biggest issue with it. Like, Ventress is back. She's in the world of living. She sort of has this mundane job, collecting tickets and enforcing for this person, selling passage for people who appear to be just trying to get away from the Empire. And I don't know, it definitely feels beneath Ventress until a young, he says Jedi, but I mean, this boy had to be a Padawan, right? Comes into the set office looking to get away, has no credits, tries to do a Jedi mind trick to no avail. Stormtroopers quickly come into play, and Ventress finds herself on run with the boy. And they go on adventures, and they form a friendship, and they try to find the path, because it seems like Ventress is interested in trying to reunite with Quinlan Voss. It's in some fashion, some form. Let him know that she's still alive. And Quinlan, as we know from the Kenobi show, is one of the organizers of the path of funneling, Force-sensitive beings away from the Empire and the Inquisitors. And that's where the first episode ends, is a great battle with an Inquisitor who comes to track down Lyko, the Force-sensitive or Padawan/Jedi child, and Ventress, and they get into a great lightsaber battle, which I thought was a really cool way to end the first episode, and made me think that, hey, maybe there's all kinds of more exciting things on the way. And like these 3 episodes as a whole, they're good and solid. I don't feel like we really grapple with anything serious, anything that kind of propels Ventress forward. I feel like a lot of it is repeating the development that she had in the Dark Disciple novel. It's just sort of crystallizing it in this show for those who didn't bother to read that book. And I feel like maybe that's a little bit of a waste in one sense, but at the other time, I feel like maybe these 3 episodes are setting something up moving forward. Perhaps she will be part of the new Darth Maul Shadow Lord series that will be coming soon. I would be sort of surprised if she doesn't, because they are a really interesting contrast with each other. 2 disciples of the Sith who went on very divergent paths from one another. And I think they make for an interesting balance and counterbalance to each other. So her being on that series would make sense. But we don't know that for sure. A lot of these 3 episodes feel like they are setting Ventress up for something else. We know that she came back. She made her big return in the Bad Batch, which was exciting. But we don't know much more about her moving forward, what her path is, what her destiny ultimately is. And like many of the series characters from the Clone Wars, we ultimately don't know their fate. Like, where are they during the original trilogy? That's the question I find myself asking more often than not whenever we reveal that someone who we thought was dead isn't dead. So, lots of questions still. Again, these are entertaining episodes. They are quick blasts, 12 to 15 minutes apiece. So they're very simple to watch, but they don't delve too deep into anything. There's not a lot of contemplation for Ventress as she contemplates the fact that she escaped death, that she left the world of the dead and came back to the world of the living. We don't really explore her feelings for Quinlan Voss. We don't really explore what her path is moving forward. Just that she has sort of learned how to make a bond, and she sort of has moved beyond what she was as an assassin for Dooku, and during this time of the Clone Wars. So again, it's solid stuff, but it's all sort of things that were addressed in the Dark Disciple arc in that novel. If you read it, you'll kind of feel like you're repeating some familiar territory. And I mean, maybe these are things that Ventress needed to reaffirm after her crossing over and then crossing back. I'm not entirely sure. Like I said, the episodes they're not bad by any stretch. They are entertaining and solid and good. But they didn't grab me the way I thought they would. And I really thought I'd be a little bit more invested in her journey at that point. But it does feel like a bit of a missed opportunity to just kind of like relay some groundwork for hardcore fans who already know what her journey was like, for fans who don't. So maybe if you haven't read that book, you're going to get more out of it than I did. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just giving you my opinion, my perspective on it. And I found these episodes to be solid. Nothing spectacular, nothing amazing. It's great that Nika Futterman's back as the voice of Ventress. And the animation continues to develop and evolve, which is spectacular to see. And I look forward to seeing more of Ventress, hopefully, potentially, in the Maul series or some other format moving forward. I think that'll be great, great stuff. Next, we move on to the 3 episodes that focus on Cad Bane. The Good Life, A Good Turn, and One Good Deed. Notice the theme of those names? And I'll be direct with you, I'll be blunt with you. Did I need a Cad Bane origin story? No, I sure didn't. I like my characters remaining mysterious. I'll be perfectly honest. I thought Boba Fett was a way better character before we knew anything about his background. And then we got the prequels, and I've learned to embrace that and wrap my head around that. But just like Wolverine in the Marvel comics, Wolverine was way better when we didn't know about his past either. So men of mystery, in my opinion, are better as men of mystery, and not knowing necessarily what their backgrounds are, their origins, where they came from, and how they were formed and shaped. That being said, I did really very much enjoy these 3 episodes, much more than the Ventress arc. Again, were they necessary? Do they somehow paint a different picture of Bane? No, they don't, because everything that occurs within these 3 episodes, it's all at the feet of Bane. He's not a sympathetic figure. He's not a tragic character. Everything he does is motivated by revenge and greed and the darkness in his own heart. And honestly, that's probably a good thing, because that keeps Bane the character we've always known him to be. But I did enjoy seeing the backstory of Cad/Colby, his childhood friendship as a street urchin with Nero, the relationship he develops with the gangster who takes him in, Laszlo, and the eventual relationship he forms with the female Duro named Erin. All these things leading to the I don't know. I suppose there is a tragic element to Bane's story because of the Isaac situation. But again, it's of his own making. It's of his own choosing. It's because he's following his own path and doing all that he knows, which is revenge and greed and anger and hate and all these things. So it's of his own choosing. It's of his own making that he now finds himself, once he realizes after he's killed Nero, spoilers, I'm jumping way ahead, that the child that appears to be would appear to be Nero's child is actually in fact Cad Bane's. And now he knows that that's the relationship. He's burned, he's torched, he's sacrificed for revenge. And again, it's nothing new for the character. It all leads to who we already know him to be. But in many senses, it does shape one element of Cad Bane's backstory, which is the sort of unknown, undocumented tutelage of one Boba Fett, and that we never got to see because of, again, the cancellation of Star Wars: The Clone Wars and that aborted 7th season that would have seen an arc with Cad and Boba training together, Boba as sort of his understudy. And I think that relationship would have been more heavily defined buy what we saw in this arc with Nero and Isaac and this sort of thing, and maybe Bane trying to form some kind of fatherly bond in the way that he seemed to form one with Laszlo when Laszlo took him in after they pulled their heist on the casino. But it's speculation because those episodes don't exist in any format. I mean, you can watch raw animatics of it on YouTube, but they've never done a novelization of that. They've never sort of canonized any of those events, except for maybe some hints in the Book of Boba Fett series that stuff actually did, in fact, happen in canon. Another element that I really enjoyed about this arc is sort of the blending of Sergio Leone movies. You know, it's very much Once Upon a Time in the West, and it's very much Once Upon a Time in America, kind of melded together. We're on a planet that remains nameless, at least to this point. Maybe StarWars.com will update that in the next couple of days, but it has a very early 20th century New York City vibe to it, and that's where we meet Colby, aka Cad, and his buddy Nero as they run the streets and they scavenge food out of the garbage cans and garbage bins, and they're referred to as street rats, and people look down on them, and they're avoided at all costs, and shop owners kick them out of stores and scare them away. And it's Laszlo, this gangster, this businessman, as he calls himself, who offers them their first taste of the good life and kind of lures them into his world. But as they pull this casino heist, it's Nero who gets caught, and it's Nero who chooses to not follow the path of revenge and greed and darkness, unlike Cad. Nero gets arrested and reforms, begins to follow the path of goodness and rightness and righteousness, and becomes a deputy, becomes a marshal, wants to improve the community that he grew up in, doesn't want other kids to have to live like he lived. He's doing things to better his neighborhood, his environment, while Cad is the dark reflection, right? He's selfishness, he's greed and arrogance and anger and revenge and all these negative emotions. So they are a nice contrast with each other. And again, I think the episodes would be more impactful if we had that Boba Fett arc from Clone Wars to kind of bounce it off of. Right now, it feels like the strength of these episodes are sort of left to the mind, to those of us who might know that story and can kind of put some juxtaposition there. But by and large, I found this arc very, very compelling. I like the sort of sadness that arises from the end, from Bane choosing his path, killing his friend, finding out that his friend had been raising his son. It just has, light Shakespeare light vibes to it. Again, not making Bane a tragic character by any stretch, but his choices have led to a tragedy. Like that boy will never, his son will never view him as a good person, as he watched him gun down the man who raised him, Nero, the person that Isaac views as his father. It does lead to a sadness in Cad Bane, but it doesn't make him sympathetic by any stretch. It keeps him in the bad guy vein, which is an interesting counterbalance for the two characters that we focus on. Because Ventress is very much the anti-hero now. And she started as a villain, she's graduated to anti-hero, and someone that we do love and root for, and we see that she's trying to gain redemption. Bane, no such thing. Bane is a bad guy through and through, and that's one of the reasons why we like Bane so much. And one reason why I like these arcs so much, this episode so much, because it doesn't alter our perception of who he is and who he's been and who we've always thought him to be. So I like the Bane arc much, much more. I like a big time vibing off the Sergio Leone vibe, and I think you guys probably agree with me. Just a thought, just some speculation there. But yeah, quality stuff. Again, short stuff, short series. 12, 15 minutes a pop on each of these episodes. And there's really great animation, really good storytelling. Again, I think you'll find the Cad Bane arc to be the better of the two character arcs. But it's okay for us to have that context about Bane, because again, it doesn't change how we feel about him. For Ventress, I reiterate that it feels like this is sort of like a step in a new direction where we will get more information about her journey soon. Again, perhaps in the Darth Maul series coming soon, or perhaps in some other series or format moving forward. It felt like that was setting things up. Bane, this is just, giving us that history that we didn't think we really needed to know. But now we have it anyways. And again, now that we have it, it doesn't change our thought process on that character, which I think I actually liked more. So I'm okay having that information because, again, Bane stays true to what we know him to be. It does not make him sympathetic or tragic, which I approve. Thank goodness for that. And I think that's just about everything I have to say because I feel like I'm starting to repeat myself a little bit. So I want to thank you guys for checking out the podcast. As always, Buckethead Nation continues to be the strongest Star Wars supporters on the internet, and I truly appreciate every one of you who takes the time to download, stream, and share the show with the friends that you guys have out there in the world. Make sure you're following us on the socials, Mando_Vision, Twitter/X, and Insta, MandoVision at Blue Sky, and you can email me at mandovisiontom@gmail.com. Like, subscribe, follow, share the show with all the Mandalorians in your covert. And a great way to support the pod, if you're on Apple Podcasts, sweet 5-star reviews. They help us out a ton. They are so insanely helpful. All right, this is Mandovision, and I am your host, Nargai Tom. Thank you once again for being here, being awesome. Go out into the world, be great Star Wars fans, kind, supportive, respectful, and inclusive. Bring some new friends into your circle, into your little family, as Laszlo would say. Welcome to the family. Not a role model. Oh, by the way, I did enjoy that Laszlo sort of gave the vibe that Bane would emulate moving forward. I meant to mention that sooner. Sorry. but obviously, Laszlo, big echoes of a father figure for Cad/Colby as he grows in this criminal syndicate. And again, oh my gosh. I like that he's part of a crime syndicate. He's not a bounty hunter yet. Like, something does happen, something does change at some point in Bane's background that puts him on a different path. I am curious what that may or may not be. Anyways, I meant to put that in there sooner. I apologize. All right, Bucketheads. We'll be back very, very soon to talk about the next batch of episodes for Andor. In the meantime, go out there, be great Star Wars fans, and we will be back very, very soon. But in the meantime, remember, this podcast can only end one way. This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way. This is the way.
I find that answer vague and unconvincing.